We are living in a time of more technology than ever before, and it's also closer to us in proximity. Radios and TVs, they used to be much further away from us, but now they're so close to our brains. That has to be affecting us, doesn't it? We're going to talk about it on Wake Up Well. I'm going to bring in an expert. His name is Dr. Stephen Cangiano. He is the co-founder of Humanity Upgrade, a program aimed at protecting, revitalizing, and rejuvenating the body on a cellular level. He's going to walk us through digital toxicity, what it is, and what can be done about it.
There's one relationship that you're permanently and intimately tied to. It's a survival situation, and that is food.
Yeah.
And when you correct that relationship, and it takes the mental and emotional like you're doing and the physical, when you correct that relationship, you transform your entire relationship with life. But this toxicity in the digital age has expanded. That definition is expanded for me beyond wireless radiation, which is just one environmental toxin. And if you'd like, I'll get into that broader definition of toxicity in the digital age, if you'd like me to.
I do want to tell you kind of my why. So this is a personal thing for me. My brother, as you know, died of cancer. He had a gastric cancer. He had adenocarcinoma. And while we were going through the cancer, he kept telling me about the EMF towers and EF towers and all that stuff. And sure enough, we had an EMF tower in our backyard where I grew up in Pittsburgh. We called it the Jolly Green Giant. And I ended up finding out that 7 people on our street, in my little street of maybe 15, 16 houses, died of gastric cancer. And I was like, there is no way that there is not a connection to that Jolly Green Giant. I wanted to be like all Aaron Brockovich and go seeking answers, but ultimately I didn't. But there's just this inherent part of me on a mind level that knows that this toxicity that we have from our cell phones, from our iPads, from all of this technology has an effect on our minds and our bodies. And I believe, as a metaphysical teacher, that deep down we all know this and we bury it, and eventually it's going to have to be dealt with, because really people are trying to say, oh no, it's fine, 5G is fine and this is fine. And I just don't believe that. I just think that, carrying, where's my phone? I just think keeping this thing next to your head all the time is eventually 20, 30 years from now, just like smoking, where they said, oh no, smoking's good for you. And then we found out it's not so good, right? My worries is that it's all going to be coming out in 20 years. And I know you said that too, right?
Yeah. So let me I got into this. I was a physician and I really didn't understand, wasn't really tuned into the whole thing. Then a good business partner and friend who we both know had a similar story to your brother. It's a tragedy. Many people on his block, including his sister, got very ill. So begrudgingly, I looked into the literature. And what I will tell you is this: there is not an individual scientist, doctor, physician who looks at the data and is intellectually honest and is not concerned. Guaranteed.
I've met some oncology nurses and they don't even carry cell phones because they've seen the tumors. They've seen it. If you really want to know what's going on, talk to somebody who works in oncology and you'll see that even though there's all this research saying, oh, it's fine, I just don't think it's fine. And you also know me, I'm not a fear monger. I'm not here to put fear. I'm not here to have anybody be fearful. It's just, I know that we have to live in this world as a mind, body, soul trifecta. And so that means that we are caught up in the collective of what's going on Earth, and much of the collective is caught up in technology and not willingly putting out the information that we have to be cautious, because technology has some great benefits, even in research, even in science, correct?
Absolutely.
Right? Mm-hmm. So we're not knocking it. It's just what you guys are putting out in the world, and what I love about it is it's okay, you're going to consume it, it's part of our life, but here's a way to detox all of that technology and all of those radio waves that are floating around in the air. And so that's what I liked about it. And Humanity Upgrade is dedicated to dealing with digital age toxicity. So let's talk about that. Let's give it in a definition. What is digital age toxicity? How do you define it?
And, I like what you said. It's not about being afraid. It's about being educated. You're an educator. I'm an educator. And so I kind of came into this with the digital wireless radiation, and basically the concentration of that is about a quintillion times greater than what our bodies evolved in. And it's a terrible, what some people call an environmental mismatch. I mean, it's not the natural way our body, not the natural environment our bodies evolved in and our bodies can be healthy in. So it's one toxicity. And the problem is in cancer. I mean, that's a problem, obviously, but the latency on cancer can be 10, 15. As a matter of fact, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the brain cancer latency was 26 years. There's much greater impact now on your mental function and, believe it or not, your heart function, which are two of, and reproductive function, which are 2 or 3 of the most bioactively, electrically active aspects of the body.
Break it down for us people who don't know the science, right? Like you just know.
And this totally taps into what you're doing. And this is why I like your work, because you're more tuned into the mental and emotional, spiritual. I'm probably a little bit more tuned into the physical science. Yeah. But here it goes. This is the greatest moment of change in human history. As you said, this cell phone, I can send a message around the world in an instant. I can access all the world's information in a second. It is phenomenal. However, the amount of mental stress from rapid change, the amount of emotional stress, and the amount of physical stress. And I've kind of changed my priority on this one. Think about this. Our bodies evolved in an environment where there was brief moments of abundance of food and then long-term moments of scarcity. And evolution was infinitely intelligent, and it used both of these to maintain health, regeneration, rejuvenation, recycling. Recycling is not the technical word, it's called autophagy, but recycling. And now there's a despicable hate crime against humanity by the processed food industry, which on purpose gives us an abundance of high calorie, low nutrition, addictive food. And we have lost this metabolic flexibility. Then you add in all the environmental toxins, the mental, emotional toxins, the wireless radiation toxins. And it's really there's so much toxin that you have to start to look at that and try and restore that environmental evolutionary balance that we can really be healthy in.
Yeah, our bodies are fighting a battle, and you can be using your mind. That's one of the ways to combat all of this. But ultimately, as a collective, we are caught up in some of this. So we have to really look at it from that mind-body perspective. And how can we make sure that we're feeding ourselves the right foods? Because in my first book, as you read, it does say that you can be thinking properly, you can have, great mental wellness, but if you're not feeding yourself the essential vitamins that are there for a reason that our bodies need, then your body's still going to break down. So I think that's definitely important to note. So let's talk about this 5-day detox that I did. I put together a little video diary of how it all went. You haven't seen it yet, so I'll give you the highlights and the lowlights. So the highlights are I slept amazing. Like, honestly, I always have trouble falling asleep, and I fell asleep like boom. I mean, my body was like, let's go, we're going to bed. And I stayed asleep, because that's another thing. I always end up having to get up like 3 or 4 times a night. I stayed asleep. So when I woke up, I felt more refreshed. So that was a total highlight for me, that the sleeping was amazing. Next highlight, lost 4 pounds.
Well, that's good, because you didn't need to lose any weight.
No, and I do say that. I know I'm thin. I'm not, I'm not naive to that. But for somebody who is thin, losing 4 pounds, that compares to somebody else who maybe needs to lose more, could have lost like 10 to 12 pounds in 5 days. Like in 5 days, I lost 4 pounds. So that was good for me. It also, like, my belly fat shrunk for sure. And I know this isn't, so much for a weight loss. It's also for the digital toxicity, but that happened. On the lowlights, it's, you know, it's hard. 5 days of eating the same thing over and over again definitely takes its toll on you. I mean, it was enough food. There's soups that you make, and that was definitely enough food. So I wasn't hungry so much as I was like craving those things that I really love, you know, cookies and crackers. But as I got to the end of day 5, I was no longer craving that. Like, I'm good. Like, I don't need sugar anymore. I'm so good. I don't need my ice cream that I would sneak, or my chocolate chip cookies I make my son that I would make for me too. So it kicked me into a new place. It made me crave fruits and vegetables, like, which is good because it sort of pushed me towards that. So for that, it was really good. So I just want to find out, like, what does it do? What is this digital detox? Now that I've done it for 5 days, what did it do for my body?
It gets back to that metabolic flexibility. The thing, an abundance of high calorie, low nutrition, addictive food. There's people who have been on this diet for 50, 60, 70 years. And what's happened is their ability to go back and forth, and an overabundance of these types of foods actually are the basis of all the chronic diseases we're facing in the society. 40%, 900,000 people in America a year die of preventable lifestyle diseases, and about 90% of them are from processed foods, not getting enough sleep. And you saw how it actually rebalanced many things. So this is a high leverage, scientifically based, and I'm getting it into the science if you want, tool that over a 5-day period, it switches the body from pro-growth, food abundance in a very delicate, easy way where it's very safe, to anti-aging, regeneration, and recycling. And there's science behind every step. It's rejuvenation on a cellular level because it's flipping your metabolic switches in that 5-day period. And this, in my opinion, is the best tool to help you bridge that gap, to break the addictions to high sugar, high fat, high salt, and to start to get back that metabolic flexibility.
Yeah, and that is definitely what it did. It broke my addiction to the dessert at lunch, dessert at dinner, because I was like, wow, I'm really good. Like, I don't need all that high sugar stuff.
One thing is as an added bonus in the kits are DigiPills, and this is a formulation that leaches the wireless radiation from your body.
Is that something to continue with once you have those? And on their own, can they help you?
Yeah. So what I would say is that in this toxic society, metabolic inflexibility, digital wireless radiation exposures, you have to be proactive. And what the DigiPills do, depending on your exposure. And here's one other fact. Your body's good at metabolizing toxins. You drink alcohol, the liver detoxifies it. You drink too much water or fluid, your kidneys, your intestines. Wireless radiation is a direct cellular toxin. There's no way to protect yourself other than avoid it, which nobody can do in this modern society, unless you go live on a mountain with no radio. So this is a formulation that's based on what they use in outer space, because there's really bad ionizing radiation in outer space. And we reprogrammed that and put it in the kit because we felt like it was so important.
Tell me about the science of putting this together and why it's so important.
Basically, high calorie, low nutrition, addictive food for probably some people 50, 60 years. What it does is it puts your body in pro-growth mode. And pro-growth mode is pro-disease mode. Cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, et cetera, et cetera. Proven. This is incontrovertible. So what we need is we need a tool that restores that metabolic flexibility and that balance, those times of scarcity, because your body used scarcity to recycle, regenerate, rejuvenate. And so first day, you lower the calories. And what we do is, and I explained this to Laura in a long email, is you lower the amount of sugar because that stimulates one recycling pathway. And then you lower the protein enough, and that switches, after about 3 days, it switches on the anti-aging pathways. Basically what the body does, instead of having all this excess food on board, it actually starts to use damaged proteins in your cells, all the junk that's accumulated inside the cells, not just cleaning out your liver with a lemon cleanse or master cleanse, which is great stuff. It's great. Do it as often as you should, but this is actually once a month, once every 2 months, a cellular detox. And after you go into this autophagy or this self-eating phase, it starts to generate stem cells. And then we ask people day 6 to do what's called a fat loading day, because fat loading is where the stem cells really start to proliferate. And that's what rejuvenates and regenerates the body.
How often should we be doing this? Because it's a 5-day kit and you do it for 5 days, but then you still use your cell phone. I'm still on my computer. I'm still using cameras and lights and everything.
Right.
Still towers around me. So how often should we be doing stuff like this?
So it depends. So the other thing we have is we have a weight loss program, because I think everything should be kind of a foundation on what's your ideal weight. Try and get to your ideal weight. Because if you look at the current situation, for every 5 points in BMI, respiratory diseases become 38% more fatal. And again, I don't want to talk negative. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just giving you the reality and the facts.
Yeah.
So if you go from 25 to 30, Chan School of Epidemiology at Harvard says your mortality risk goes up 38%. Go from 30 to 35, it goes up another 38% to 76%. Go from 35 to 40, it's 114% greater mortality risk on something you can avoid.
I believe that every bite of food, you're either healing yourself or harming yourself. So you have to choose. And that's why I choose not to eat meat and lots of other things that I never ate, even as a child. And I have gotten rid of. And also it comes back to going back to the mind part of it. It's what you believe about what you're putting in your body, because everything comes down to belief. So if you believe that all these things are harming you, then you're going to continue to go down that rabbit hole. But if you look at the food and say, I eat for life, I choose foods that bring me health, I choose foods because I love them and they make me feel good on the inside. When you look at your food, you're going to decide, do those things, is that right when I'm looking at this piece of food? Is that good for my body? And we all inherently know things. So you inherently know it's not really good for you. So I'm just all about trying to get people to recognize those 3 things, that it's important what you put in your body, but it's equally important what you put in your mind. And I want people to combine the 2 and do things that are able to detox some of what is going on in the physical world, because our bodies are a learning device for our mind. And if our bodies are dysfunctioning, it's coming from our mind, and our mind is the one that makes the choice of what food to put in it.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And if I could give you one little tidbit fact about stress and the emotional, spiritual piece, listen to this. What we do is we constantly have this intermediate to high level of stress, and how that affects your mind and your body is staggering. The liver and the kidneys and the intestines are the detoxification organs. And when they're detoxified, your mental and emotional state, your brain works much better. Well, when you're stressed, there's about 5% blood flow to the liver, those detoxifying organs. When you're calm, when you're in a meditative state, what happens is 50% of your blood flow goes to those detoxifying organs.
I have a couple of questions I want to ask, though, because I like to be very, frank with what I do in life. So when it came to the detox, there were times when I was like, I got to eat something. So I had half of a cucumber. What's that going to do if I add in, a cucumber here or there, or a carrot to that 5-day?
So the key is you don't want to kick yourself out of that detox phase. Mm-hmm. Look,
okay.
So and a cucumber is not going to do it. A carrot maybe, because
I didn't have a carrot. I actually just had a cucumber.
Yeah. So the carrot might, because it's got a lot of sugar in it. So you want to turn on those anti-aging mechanisms for at least 5 days so you can get the full effect.
What are some things that you can do on a daily, though, consistent basis, do you think, to detox from the, digital toxicity?
Number one thing you can do for your health is not a digital detox kit. And my wife might yell at me for this, but what it is sleep. Identify your sleep patterns, sleep hygiene, circadian rhythm. You have to actually start to lower the light at night so you're not getting bright blue light at night because it can actually activate parts of your brain. You want to go to bed and get up at the same time every day. The other thing is you can go outside, do grounding, and get in the sun. Vitamin D, a lot of people feel that viruses are more prevalent in the winter because, especially in northern and severe southern latitudes, you don't get enough sun and it doesn't convert vitamin D.
Yep.
So you can, that's something you may supplement in the winter, but get outside in the summer. And so all of these different things that you can do to reestablish your environmental matches. You got to have a way to eliminate stress, some mindfulness practice. If you're going to do meditation, you got to do it with a coach or a pro because most people sit there and just go, woo.
Monkey mind.
Your brain is not your friend. And then you need to have you really want to work on that relationship piece because loneliness in this society is an epidemic. And from an evolutionary perspective, we co-regulate and co-evolve together with our environment, with everything in the plants and the animals in the environment. And we're meant to do that. As a matter of fact, there's brain hormones like oxytocin, et cetera, that kicks off stress if you're isolated from the herd, so to speak. And and it's really an epidemic in our society. It's horrible.
And one thing just to add to all of that is you can do energy. There are energy techniques. There's two different type of energy so far that I know about, that I've learned about, which is Reiki, which is a lot of people have heard of, and then there's scalar energy. So the Reiki energy can help with the healing, and the scalar energy can help with the healing as well. So when you're doing these meditations with a guide, if they can tap into those energies, that is also a way to detox your bodies, to align your chakras. And that's an important piece as well of going back to my question about things you can do on a daily, consistent basis. Okay, I forgot to ask you one question about the detox and the food. So you have the soups that you have, and there are different types of soups, and some are definitely better tasting than other. I always say, look, this is not Michelin star restaurant food. This is detox. So it's not going to be like, oh my God, this is amazing. There's very specific reasons, as you said, to why the ingredients are in there. If you were to add a little bit of salt, sea salt to it, is that going to harm you? Should you not do that?
Okay, good question. Yeah, there's no foie gras in the kit for sure. And so, look, add some sea salt. What we want you to do, salt is not one of those things that's going to flip the switches on your anti-aging pathways one way or another. So yes, you could. But what we'd like you to do, just for those 5 days, see if you can maybe do a little bit of salt in the first couple of days and then wean yourself off by day 5. Salt's not a problem. Low calorie vegetables like cucumbers are not a problem.
What about something like a coconut palm sugar or a maple syrup or honey even, that comes from Mother Earth and isn't the non-processed kind of that type of stuff? Is that okay to add, or is that going to?
No, that's definitely not, because what sugar does is it causes an insulin response.
Okay.
And although there's a little bit of carbohydrate in the kit, but it's been engineered to be low enough not to get that insulin response and not to give you the cyclic, that one pathway there's 2 pathways. One is sugar oriented energy. It's called a cyclic AMP. If your sugar goes up, it shuts that off. You don't want to do that.
So we're going to put up the website, humanityupgrade.com, if you want more information about this. How often should you be doing this in order to make it work? Obviously, you want to do the day-to-day things that we talked about, but how often should you do a 5-day detox in your life to get rid of some of this energy that we're carrying?
There's no right or wrong. So it's not about wrong. It's about what's your vision for health and what you want to do. And this is I can guarantee you, this is a valuable tool, because it works. It's engineered. It works on a cellular level, is what we need, and it helps. It's a very high leverage tool to reinitiate, reinstall that metabolic flexibility, and also counteract these digital age toxicities. Not just because, I don't know if you remember what I said earlier, is that the wireless radiation affects your cells directly on a cellular level. Your body has no filter for them. Unlike excess food or excess alcohol, your body has filters for those. It has no excess sun. It has a filter, your skin. So you need to do this on a regular basis. I would say you need to do it once a month until you hit your ideal weight. And then depending on if you work in an airplane, or if you work at a nuclear power plant or an electric plant or whatever, you're in a data processing center, you may want to do one every month.
Yeah.
If you are super healthy like you might only need to do it, depending on your wireless radiation exposure, once every 2, once every 3 months. And we have a tool to measure the amount of wireless radiation you're getting. It was that hair analysis. And with that, we also have nutritionals plus the digipills that can actually help do that. So it really depends. And if you're a world-class athlete, you're living, you may maybe do it every 6 months. So it's a little bit individual.
Is out in nature, and
if you're out in nature every day and you're grounding
and computers, you could probably do it every 6 months. Okay. Well, I want to tell everybody, let me put that up, that if you want to get this digital detox kit and kick yourself out of your addictions. And also I like the anti-aging part of it. That speaks to me. You can go to their website, humanityupgrade.com, and you'll use my code LSALT. You'll get 20% off this digital detox kit. I have a little video diary that will be on YouTube that you can go to. It'll be in the Wake Up Well show. If you just go to my series on Well World TV, and you can see my little diary of going through it all, so you see how it is from a true consumer's perspective. That's humanityupgrade.com, and look for the digital detox kit and use LSALT for 20% off the digital detox kit. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Questions. I'm glad, you and I definitely are on the same page about all of this. And I just want people to live that trifecta: mind, body, soul. Put them all together, because it'll be the best way to live your life. So thank you guys for giving me the detox. Thank you for kicking me out of cookies and back into fruits and veggies. Thank you so much for watching Wake Up Well, and I will see you guys next week.